My advice to you is to not bring a knife to a gunfight. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Xerath Prevails. Today we're going to talk about when to farm Gungans, how to do it, if it's even worthwhile. Jar Jar's already here, apparently. I haven't done the event yet, but he will be here very shortly, and it's looking like Gungans are going to be okay, at the very least. So let's talk about it a little bit. First, huge shout out to my patrons. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for all your support, guys. And if you want to support this channel for free, all you gotta do is hit that thumbs up button. Like, subscribe, comment. Mount the algorithm, guys. Mount the Gungans. If they'll be okay with that. I don't know if they probably will be. They probably like that sort of thing, I would think. Weird duck creatures. You don't know. No one knows. I don't want to speculate, actually. So, alright, first off, let's just assume a couple things going into this, folks, because they're going to be things that'll throw you off if you're not expecting them. First off, I am just assuming that you're already doing 3 energy refreshes every day. So, you've already taken into consideration the fact that you're spending 150 crystals daily on energy. I think that we've talked about that a lot, and I know that some people don't do it, and that's fine, but I'm not counting the cost of any of those refreshes in any of my calculations, because that's already part of kind of what I do, a lot of people do, so just so you're aware of that. And then I'm also assuming, folks, that with all of these different farmings, that they'll all show up on hard nodes. Now, maybe there'll be something on Cantina, but if it is, that's going to make it a lot faster and easier and more efficient to farm, so that's like a good thing. We're gonna kind of plan in case the worst case scenario happens, okay? So assume hard nodes, maybe we'll get lucky, quote unquote lucky, and CG will be the beneficent, wonderful company that they are, and allow us to give us to farm a Cantina node or something. So when do we want Gungans, folks? Like, what makes it worthwhile to get Gungans? And apparently I have a picture of Stap here too, but that he doesn't really enter into the equation, really. So first off, you need Jar Jar to make them good. There's not really much point in having the Gungans unless you're also possessed of Jar Jar, which is a pretty limiting factor, of course, because it's a character that's not going to be permanently in the journey guide. He's going to be released every, every 3 months or so. But CG has said that he's going to be released on a fairly regular, predictable schedule, which is nice. So when is he going to be farmable? So initial release is going to be May 2nd, which is when I'm releasing this video, incidentally. And then Meatface did say, our community manager said, every 3 months, so approximately. And they haven't given us solid dates yet, but so this is all just speculation on some levels. August 2nd, November 2nd, February 2nd, and then he will eventually be released again in May of 2025, go into permanent journey guide, etc. And if you're going for Gungans for the raid, I would advise going for either August 2nd or November 2nd, because the raid is going to be here somewhere in the late July, early August category. So once Jar Jar, so he's gonna have his week of release right now, and if you're ready, then great. But you're probably not watching this, frankly, or you're going to, you're gonna want to farm for him to get here, in 3 months, which is perfect timing for when the raid starts. Otherwise, if you do it too much later, you're going to miss out on the efficiency of having the Gungans for the entire raid, and in fact, it kind of becomes like, well, maybe there are other reasons to be farming Gungans, but the raid isn't the primary concern for you. So when will the Gungans be farmable themselves? I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time talking about this. This is just predictions based off of how long it takes for a character to be released, go into shipments, and then eventually go into a hard node or cantina node. And I think the biggest thing is if the Phalanx is really going to be made farmable around June 13th, then you'll have about 50 days to get him to 7 stars before Jar Jar returns. Okay, so how many attempts do you need to take in order to be finished? Now, I know that some people are going to roll their eyes and say CG changes this, but there's actually a huge amount of information and just data backing this fact that characters are farmed at a 1/3 drop rate. So you attempt three times on a hard node. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get it, but your every time is going to be 1/3. So typically, if you farm 3 times, you're going to get 1 shard, or eventually your average is going to reach that. So everything that we're talking about is predicated on that. And if you have a 3-star character, you're going to need 280 total shards. Now, I know that a lot of people actually have more than that to start with, but we're going to make the assumption that not everyone got the web store stuff. Maybe some people missed some of the shards and stuff, but you're going to need 280 total shards, which means if it's a 1/3 drop rate, you're going to have to take about 840 total attempts. There is RNG within all of that, so you need to be cognizant of the fact that you might get unlucky or you might be getting really lucky, but it's not a guaranteed thing. Over the course of a really long sample size, yes, it will equalize to be very close to a 1/3 drop rate, but that doesn't really stop it from being kind of crazy within a few days of each other. Of course, you guys know how that works, but yeah, so that's what we're kind of predicating it on, is how many total attempts do you need? How many rolls do you need in order to farm these characters? So okay, so on the Phalanx, this is the one that's probably going to be the most difficult to get done in time because he was released as the final character. Essentially, folks, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these as well, but I've broken it down for if you want to farm these characters in over the course of to get them ready by June or by August 2nd, November 2nd, or February 2nd, which February 2nd I'd say not as recommended, but if you want to do that, you still have 3 months of the raid. Maybe it's still worth it to you, I don't know, but I'm kind of breaking these down in terms of how many attempts you're going to have to take per day for each of these characters in order to make it to that point. So that's taking okay, this character's released at this point, it's going into shipments at this point, it's going to be farmable at this point. Once it's farmable, how many attempts do you need to do every day in order to get this character? And so for 50 days, for instance, if you want to get him by August 2nd, you're gonna have 50 days total. 50 days means you're gonna have to do 16.8 attempts per day. Attempts as in rolls for your shards. So that means you're going to have a lot of rerolls for him, because he's the one with the biggest crunch time. And if you want to get there, I mean, that just realistically, it's going to be 16.8 attempts per day, which means you're gonna have to do 2 refreshes on the hard node. Some days you're gonna have to do 3 for a total of either 15 attempts per day or 20 attempts per day. If you want to go the middle route and unlock him in 6 months from now, essentially, then it's going to be a little bit less. You can do 10 attempts per day instead, and that's only going to be 1 refresh per day, essentially. So similarly for the Boomadier, he's going to be a little bit easier to farm. You guys can take screenshots and stuff. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on it. I already spent a huge amount of time making these slides. Carpal Tunnel is going to take even less effort, and then Boss Nass takes even less, because remember, he's already farmable, and so if you're farming him the whole time, you're gonna have way more time to be working on him and completing him. And so I know that the inclination is going to be like, hey, I'm just gonna jump out ahead and work on him as hard as I can. It depending on what your target is, you don't really need to worry about that much, honestly. Like you can kind of just slowly farm him. Now you're gonna want to do a refresh most of the time if you're aiming for that August 2nd goal, but otherwise you really can kind of slow down with him. So combined, this all just has just the same information, just kind of condensed, and so then this kind of breaks it down as how many crystals per day is it going to cost. You guys can refer back to the other slides if you want. And then here's the TLDR, folks. Like, if you don't want to listen to any of the blabbing that I've done in the past part of the video, you can just kind of skip to this part and, screenshot it, send it to your friends, whatever. But the idea is, if you want to get your Boss Nass unlocked, if you want to get your Jar Jar ready, be completely ready to have Jar Jar, to have 7 stars on all of your Gungans, and then you'll have to worry about the gear and stuff on your own. But if you want to do it by August 2nd, which means you'll have a full amount, 9 months of raid use of this squad, and then you're going to be able to, then Boss Nass is going to take 1 refresh a day, Captain Turples is going to be 1 refresh a day as well, the Boomadier 2 refreshes a day, and Phalanx is going to be 2.5, which of course 2.5 means sometimes you're going to do 2 and some days you're going to do 3 total refreshes, and it costs about almost 300 crystals per day. So it costs a lot, and that doesn't include the energy, like I said before, but that's approximately how much it costs. And then I also have the breakdown for November 2nd and February 2nd, if that's what your goal is. And that's basically it, folks. If you want to get the August 2nd, yes, it's going to be expensive. The thing to keep in mind here as well, though, is yes, it's going to be expensive, but only for like those 50 days that you have to be rushing with Phalanx. Once you're done, as opposed to if you're aiming for November 2nd, it's going to be much more of a sustained crystal use, and yes, it's going to be a lot cheaper long term, but it's still going to be a sustained use instead of just like getting it over with and knocking it out. So just things to keep in mind here, folks. And then finally, how does this compare to shipments and packs? So if you want to buy shipments, people want to speed things up. Shipments are probably the least effective bang for your buck. If you're going to just go for crystals, then I get it. If you can't buy packs, then, if you can't spend money on the game or you don't want to spend money, then the packs are going to be out. But shipments are the worst deal out of anything that you're going to do. They come to about $1.12 per shard. For what it's worth, I kind of broke it down here. If you're doing refreshes, just looking at how effective a refresh is and how many shards it would cost, if you're gonna go buy crystals from the store and then you're going to buy refreshes for one of the Gungans or whatever, you're gonna it's way more effective to just buy refreshes. Honestly, guys, I have it broken down. Like once you get to the point where you're doing your 3rd refresh of the day, which is 100 crystals, then it starts being like 84 cents per shard, but that's still cheaper than buying them in shipments, which is crazy to me. And then, of course, if you buy packs, if you're gonna spend dollars on it, actual money, then the packs are usually gonna be worth it. One thing I didn't include was that calendar, the Gungan calendar. Like that'll make things a lot easier to farm long term as well. That's probably one of the best bang for your buck packs that you're going to get. But then the Jar Jar Chase bundle is going to, so I'm just also assuming that the gear doesn't matter to you, that you're just buying these packs for the shards, and I'm totally ignoring all the gear and relic materials, etc. that come with the packs. So the relic combo, this is still cheaper than shipments, but significantly worse deal than most of the refreshes. And then the Jar Jar Chase bundle is, that's a decent deal. You're getting about 70 shards, give or take. Depends on some of your RNG, but you're getting about 57 cents per shard, which is nice. It's not too bad. It's still not as effective as just doing plain old-fashioned refreshes, at least for the first 1 or 2 refreshes for these. So anyways, that, if you want, hopefully this helps you kind of plan what you want to do with, with your shards, and what your goals are. And yeah, kind of a dry topic tonight, folks. I don't necessarily love this kind of like, hey, let's talk about math kind of thing, but I hope it helps. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, of course. And I'm not the sole arbiter of truth. Maybe I missed something. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Truly would. So thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Xerath hopes he did his math correctly. Take care, everyone.